I never expected my life to change over a plate of lasagna. But there I was, choking on my water as my boss, my straight-laced, always professional manager Ava, casually told her parents we'd been dating for 3 months. The look in her eyes was pleading, desperate even, as she reached for my hand across her mother's antique dining table. If you've ever wondered what it feels like when your carefully constructed world tilts on its axis, stick around. Trust me, you'll want to see how this train wreck unfolds. My name is William Parker, and 6 months ago, I was just trying to keep my head above water. A single dad with a 5-year-old daughter, working as a marketing specialist at Reynolds & Associates, where my days consisted of client meetings, spreadsheets, and rushing to after-school pickup. Dating wasn't even on my radar, not when microwave dinners and bedtime stories consumed my evenings. Ava Mitchell had been my direct supervisor for nearly 2 years. She was brilliant, focused, and intimidating in the way that naturally beautiful women who don't seem to know they're beautiful often are. Her dark hair was always perfectly styled, her clothes impeccable, and her demeanor strictly professional. We had a good working relationship, respectful, productive, occasionally sharing a laugh over office politics, but nothing more. Until that text message on a Friday evening. "William, I need a huge favor. Can you meet for coffee tomorrow? It's important." The coffee shop was quiet that Saturday morning. I'd arranged for my neighbor to watch my daughter, wondering what work emergency could possibly require weekend attention. When Ava walked in, I barely recognized her. Gone was the tailored blazer and confident stride. Instead, she wore jeans and a simple sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders, and her expression, vulnerable. "Thank you for coming," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. Her fingers wrapped tightly around her mug. "This isn't about work." I raised an eyebrow, waiting. "My parents are coming to town next weekend," she continued, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "They've been pressuring me about my personal life. Setting me up with men they know, constantly asking when I'm going to settle down." I nodded, still not understanding where this was going. "I may have told them I'm seeing someone." She winced. "Actually, I definitely told them that. 6 months ago. And now they want to meet this mystery man, I guessed." "Exactly." She looked up, meeting my eyes directly. "William, would you pretend to be my boyfriend? Just for one dinner?" I should have said no. I had a daughter to consider, a professional reputation to maintain. But something in her expression, a mixture of embarrassment and hope, made me pause. "Just one dinner?" I asked. "Just one," she promised. "Sunday night. I'll owe you forever." That's how I found myself standing on Ava's doorstep the following weekend, wearing my only decent suit, clutching a bottle of wine I couldn't really afford, and wondering what I'd gotten myself into. "Remember," Ava whispered as she opened the door, looking stunning in a simple blue dress, "we met at work, started dating 3 months ago, and things are going well but not too serious yet." "Got it," I said, trying to ignore how my heart rate had inexplicably accelerated. Work, 3 months, going well. Her parents were already inside, her father, a distinguished-looking man with salt-and-pepper hair and a firm handshake, and her mother, who shared Ava's striking features and assessing gaze. "So you're the man who's finally captured our Ava's attention," her father said, studying me with undisguised curiosity. "Dad," Ava warned, but she was smiling. Dinner started smoothly enough. I answered questions about my job, carefully navigating around the fact that their daughter was my boss. Ava's mother served lasagna that put my microwave meals to shame, and the conversation flowed more easily than I'd expected. Then came the question I should have anticipated. "Ava mentioned you have a child," her mother asked, her tone carefully neutral. I felt Ava tense beside me. We hadn't discussed how to handle this part of my life. "Yes," I said, deciding honesty was the best approach. "A daughter. She's 5. And her mother?" Mrs. Mitchell pressed. Mom, Ava interjected, that's not. It's okay, I said, touching Ava's hand instinctively. My wife passed away when our daughter was 2. Cancer. The table fell silent. It was a familiar silence, the one that always followed this revelation. People never knew quite what to say. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Mitchell finally said, her expression softening. Thank you, I replied. It's been difficult, but we're doing well. I felt Ava's hand turn beneath mine, her fingers intertwining with my own. When I glanced at her, the compassion in her eyes seemed genuine, not part of our act. The conversation moved on, but something had shifted. The questions became less probing, more genuine. Mr. Mitchell asked about my daughter's interests, and I found myself sharing stories about her dinosaur obsession and her recent kindergarten art projects. Ava joined in, mentioning the drawing I kept on my desk, a detail I was surprised she'd noticed. And then, as Mrs. Mitchell served coffee and dessert, Ava dropped the bombshell. Actually, William and I have been dating for 3 months now, she said, squeezing my hand. And things are getting pretty serious. I choked on my water, earning concerned looks from everyone at the table. Sorry, I managed, went down the wrong way. Ava's mother beamed. I knew it. The way you look at each other, I told your father, didn't I? Mr. Mitchell nodded, looking pleased. You did indeed. We're taking things slowly, Ava continued, giving me a look that clearly said, play along. But it feels right. Have you met his daughter yet? Mrs. Mitchell asked eagerly. Another moment of panic. We hadn't coordinated this part of our story. Not officially, Ava answered smoothly. We wanted to be sure about us first. But I'm looking forward to it. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of half-truths and outright fabrications. By the time we said goodbye, Ava's parents were convinced their daughter had found her match, and I was exhausted from the effort of maintaining our charade. I am so sorry, Ava said once we were alone, collapsing onto her couch. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Serious? I questioned, loosening my tie. That wasn't part of the script. She covered her face with her hands. I know. But they looked so happy, and it just came out. And now what? I asked. They think we're practically engaged. They're leaving tomorrow, she said. In a few weeks, I'll tell them it didn't work out. Simple as that? Simple as that, she confirmed, though she didn't meet my eyes. I should have left then. Gone home to my daughter, forgotten about the evening, and returned to our professional relationship on Monday morning. But something kept me there, perhaps the vulnerability Ava had shown, so different from her workplace persona, or maybe the way her hand had felt in mine. Thank you, she said softly. For doing this. For sharing about your wife. You didn't have to do that. It's my reality, I replied. I don't know how to be anyone else. She studied me for a long moment. I think that's what I admire most about you, William. You're authentic, even when it would be easier not to be. The compliment caught me off guard. You make it sound like I'm some paragon of virtue. I'm just trying to get through each day. Aren't we all? She smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. Some of us just hide it better than others. I left shortly after, driving home through quiet streets, replaying the evening in my mind. It had been strange, pretending to be something we weren't, and yet parts of it had felt surprisingly natural. The way Ava laughed at my jokes, how easily she'd fielded questions about my daughter, the warmth in her eyes when she looked at me. Monday morning arrived with an awkwardness I hadn't anticipated. In the office, Ava was once again my manager, poised, professional, and apparently determined to pretend our dinner had never happened. Our interactions were strictly business, her emails formal, her feedback on my projects as detailed and impersonal as ever. I told myself it was for the best. The last thing I needed was workplace complications. My daughter needed stability, not drama. And yet, I found myself missing the Ava-eyed glimpse that night, the woman who wore her hair down and spoke honestly about her insecurities. 2 weeks passed in this strange limbo. Then came another text message, late on a Friday. My parents are coming back next weekend. Unexpected visit. Can we talk? My heart shouldn't have raced at those words. I shouldn't have felt that flutter of anticipation. But I did. We met at the same coffee shop. This time, Ava got straight to the point. They want to have dinner again. With both of us. I sighed. And you told them we broke up? That's the thing, she said, looking uncomfortable. I didn't. You didn't? She shook her head. I kept meaning to, but I don't know. It felt wrong, somehow. Like I was erasing something important. I didn't know how to respond to that. We don't have to do this again, she said quickly. I can tell them the truth. That it was all a lie. The disappointment in her voice was subtle but unmistakable. Or, I heard myself saying, we could have dinner again. Her eyes widened. Really? You'd do that? On one condition, I said, surprising myself with my boldness. This time, I want you to meet my daughter. For real. It was a test, though I wasn't entirely sure what I was testing. Perhaps I wanted to see if Ava was willing to engage with the most important part of my life, or maybe I needed to know if this strange connection between us could exist outside our fabricated relationship. She hesitated only briefly. I'd like that. The playground was busy that Saturday afternoon. My daughter was on the swings, her laughter carrying across the park as I pushed her higher. Higher, Daddy. I want to touch the sky. Any higher and you might just do that, I laughed, giving another gentle push. Is that her? I turned to find Ava standing a few feet away, watching us with an uncertain smile. She looked different again, casual in jeans and a light sweater, her hair in a simple ponytail. That's her, I confirmed. The fearless one demanding to touch the sky. Ava laughed. She sounds like you. God help her if that's true. My daughter noticed the newcomer and demanded to be let down from the swing. She approached cautiously, hiding partially behind my leg as she studied Ava. Hello, Ava said, crouching down to eye level. You must be the dinosaur expert I've heard about. My daughter's eyes widened. You know about dinosaurs? Not as much as you, I bet, Ava replied. But I'd love to learn. That was all it took. For the next hour, Ava was subjected to a detailed education on the differences between carnivores and herbivores, complete with demonstrations of how T-Rex arms worked and why Triceratops had the best defense system. Watching them together, my bright, enthusiastic daughter and this woman I thought I knew but clearly didn't, something shifted inside me. Ava was patient, genuinely interested, asking questions that delighted my little paleontologist. When my daughter took her hand to lead her to the slide, Ava glanced back at me with a smile that made my chest tighten. Later, as my daughter devoured an ice cream cone, Ava leaned toward me on the park bench. She's amazing, she said softly. You've done an incredible job with her. I'm figuring it out as I go, I admitted. Some days better than others. That's all any of us can do. She hesitated. Thank you for today. For trusting me with her. Thank you for being someone I could trust. Our eyes met, and for a moment, I forgot about our pretense, about her parents' upcoming visit, about the professional boundaries we were blurring. In that moment, it was just us, two people connecting over ice cream and dinosaur facts. The second dinner with Ava's parents was different. This time, when Mrs. Mitchell asked about my daughter, Ava had stories to share, genuine ones about their playground adventure and subsequent trips to the Natural History Museum. When she described my daughter's excitement over the dinosaur exhibit, her face lit up with an affection that couldn't be faked. You've met her? Mr. Mitchell asked, looking surprised. Several times now, Ava replied, and I realized with a start that it was true. In the week since our playground meeting, Ava had joined us for pizza night, helped with bath time when I was running late from work, and even attended a parent-teacher conference when my babysitter canceled at the last minute. "And how is that going?" Mrs. Mitchell asked carefully. Ava looked at me, her expression soft. "It's the best part of all this." I felt something catch in my throat. Because it wasn't an act anymore, was it? Somewhere between pretending to be a couple and actually spending time together, something real had developed. Not just between Ava and me, but between her and my daughter. After her parents left, we sat in silence for a long moment. "We need to talk about what's happening here," I finally said. Ava nodded. "I know. This started as a favor, a one-time thing that somehow became, whatever this is." "And what is it?" she asked quietly. I took a deep breath. "I think I'm falling for you. The real you, not my boss, not the woman pretending to be my girlfriend, but the person who spends hours discussing dinosaurs with a 5-year-old and doesn't check her phone once during bath time." Her eyes widened. "William. Let me finish," I said. "I need you to understand what you're getting into. I'm a package deal. My daughter will always come first. My life is complicated and messy and revolves around school schedules and chicken nugget preferences." "I know that," she interrupted. "And there's work to consider," I continued. "The HR implications alone." "William," she said firmly, taking my hands in hers. "Stop thinking like a marketing specialist for a minute and listen to me. I'm falling for you too. Both of you. And yes, it's complicated and probably against company policy, but I don't care." "You don't?" She shook her head. "I've spent my entire adult life making safe, practical choices. Focusing on my career, avoiding messy entanglements, keeping my parents at arm's length with half-truths and excuses. And what has it gotten me? A corner office and empty weekends. And now? Now I have dinosaur facts memorized and pizza sauce on my favorite blouse, and I've never been happier." She squeezed my hands. "I'm not saying this will be easy. But I think it could be worth it." I studied her face, searching for any sign of doubt or hesitation. Instead, I found only certainty, and something that looked remarkably like hope. "So what now?" I asked. "Do we keep pretending for your parents while figuring this out?" She smiled. "I don't think we need to pretend anymore. Not for them, not for anyone." The following Monday, Ava requested a meeting with HR. By the end of the day, I had a new supervisor, and our relationship was officially disclosed according to company policy. There were raised eyebrows and office gossip, of course, but those faded as weeks turned into months. 6 months after that fateful dinner, Ava moved into our home. My daughter helped her unpack, solemnly showing her where the dinosaur books belonged and which cabinet held the good snacks. That night, after bedtime stories and goodnight kisses, Ava and I sat on the porch swing, watching the stars emerge. "Your daughter asked me something interesting today," she said, her head resting against my shoulder. "Oh?" "She asked if she could call me Ava Mom, since I'm not her real mom but I'm more than just Ava." My heart constricted. "What did you say?" "I told her I'd be honored, but that we should talk to you first." I turned to look at her, this woman who had entered our lives through a strange deception and stayed because of something genuine and true. "What?" I turned to look at her, this woman who had entered our lives through a strange deception and stayed because of something genuine and true. "What do you think?" she asked, a hint of uncertainty in her voice. I felt a lump form in my throat. "I think my daughter is wiser than both of us." "Ava Mom sounds perfect." She smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "I never expected this, you know. When I asked you to that first dinner, I was just trying to get my parents off my back. And now? Now I can't imagine my life any other way." She took my hand, her fingers warm against mine. Thank you for saying yes that day. Thank you for asking, I replied, pulling her closer. 1 year after our charade began, we found ourselves at another dinner with Ava's parents. This time, my daughter was with us, chattering excitedly about her first-grade science project and the super cool volcano Ava mom had helped her build. Mrs. Mitchell watched the interaction with knowing eyes. After dinner, while Ava and my daughter cleared the table, she pulled me aside. I have a confession, she said quietly. I knew from the beginning. I blinked in surprise. Knew what? That you weren't really dating my daughter when we first met. She smiled at my shocked expression. A mother knows these things, William. Ava was never a good liar, even as a child. Then why? Because I saw how she looked at you, she interrupted gently. Not during that first dinner, but afterward, when she thought no one was watching. I saw possibility there. I glanced toward the kitchen, where Ava was showing my daughter how to properly load the dishwasher, both of them laughing at some private joke. I saw it too, I admitted. Eventually. Mrs. Mitchell patted my arm. Sometimes we need a little push to find what's been in front of us all along. That night, after we'd returned home and tucked my daughter into bed, I found Ava on the porch swing again, gazing up at the stars. Your mother knew, I said, sitting beside her. About our fake relationship. She turned to me, surprised. What? How? She said you were never a good liar. I chuckled. Apparently, she was playing matchmaker all along. Ava groaned, covering her face. That sounds exactly like something she would do. I can't be too upset about it, I said, pulling her hands away from her face. It worked, didn't it? She smiled, leaning into me. It did. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, the gentle creaking of the swing the only sound in the quiet night. I've been thinking, I said finally. About us. About the future. Oh. She looked up at me, her eyes reflecting the starlight. I never expected to find love again after losing my wife. I thought that part of my life was over, that my focus would be my daughter, my job, just getting through each day. And now? She asked softly. I reached into my pocket, pulling out the small velvet box I'd been carrying for weeks, waiting for the right moment. Now I can't imagine a future without you in it. Her breath caught as I opened the box, revealing the simple diamond ring inside. Ava Mitchell, who invited me to dinner under false pretenses and then somehow became the most real thing in my life, will you marry me? Tears spilled down her cheeks as she nodded. Yes, she whispered. Yes, 1,000 times yes. As I slipped the ring onto her finger, I thought about the strange, winding path that had brought us here. A fake relationship that became real. A professional boundary that blurred into something beautiful. A single dad and his daughter finding a new kind of family with the last person they expected. We should tell your parents, I said, kissing her softly. She laughed. My mother probably already knows. She's probably had the wedding planned since that first dinner. And my daughter? She helped me pick out your birthday present last week, Ava said, her eyes twinkling. She told me she wants a little brother for Christmas, so I think she'll be thrilled. I laughed, pulling her close. One step at a time. The next morning, my daughter spotted the ring immediately, her sharp eyes missing nothing. Are you going to be my real mom now? She asked Ava, her expression serious. Ava knelt down, meeting her gaze. I will never replace your mom, she said gently. She will always be your real mom. But if you'll have me, I'd love to be your Ava mom forever. My daughter considered this for a moment, then nodded solemnly. That's good. Because I already told my teacher you're getting married. Ava and I exchanged startled glances. When did you do that? I asked. Yesterday, my daughter replied matter-of-factly. When you were looking at the ring in your office. You didn't close the door all the way. I couldn't help but laugh. So much for our surprise. I like knowing things, my daughter said proudly. Like how T-Rex had the strongest bite force of any land animal ever. That's true, Ava agreed, winking at me over our daughter's head. And very impressive. Life isn't a straight line. It's a series of unexpected turns, chance encounters, and sometimes, elaborate dinner charades that lead to something real. If someone had told me 2 years ago that my manager would become my wife, that my daughter would gain an Ava mom, that my carefully constructed world would expand to include dinosaur facts and family dinners and a love I never thought I'd find again, I wouldn't have believed them. But here we are. And I wouldn't change a single step of the journey that brought us here. So if you're watching this and wondering if your own life might take an unexpected turn, if that person you see every day might somehow become the center of your world, if the careful boundaries you've built might someday blur into something beautiful, let me tell you, it can happen. Sometimes, the most authentic connections begin with a simple yes to an unexpected invitation. If you enjoyed our story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more unexpected journeys. Life has a way of surprising us when we